Welcome back to my channel. Today, since Valentine's Day is on Friday, I figure what better way to celebrate, and if my buddy Rich is watching this, he's going to be groaning because he hates Valentine's Day. But to celebrate Valentine's Day, I thought what better way than to celebrate with some murder and mayhem. And by that I mean I just rewatched 2001's Valentine. This movie was released on February 2nd of 2001. I cannot believe it's 19 years since this movie was released. I remember going to see this in the theater. My girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, went with me, which was a big deal because my wife does not like horror films. She'll sit down and if she doesn't mind if I put a Scream movie on or a Final Destination movie, but she is by no means a horror fan. She's not into the movies. It's just not her thing. But she went willingly, so she must love me. I didn't have to drag her there. She sat through this movie, and I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I liked this movie. And the reason I really wanted to see this movie, besides it's a slasher film, and I'm a big slasher film fan, is that the gentleman who directed a movie I really liked 3 years earlier, Urban Legend, that man is Jamie Blanks. And I was interested because it was a slasher film and he was making another movie, and I couldn't wait to see what he did next because I really liked Urban Legend. I still do to this day. I own a Scream Factory Blu-ray. And before that, he had done some short films in Australia. He's an Australian director. And when he came to America, he really wanted to do I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was one of the first post-Scream slasher films made, other than Halloween H2O was made right after there too. He wanted to do that film, he didn't get that. He got Urban Legend instead, and I really liked that movie. And his next film was this one. So it had me really interested, and I remember reading an interview with him in Fangoria, and he said he wanted to make an old-school 80s slasher film, which was music to my ears. Okay, let's do it. So, armed with a $10 million budget, I know if you look on websites, they'll tell you the budget was $29 million. That might be with all advertising rolled in. I don't know, but the production budget was $10 million. The production budget was not $29. When this movie was released in February of 2001, it made in the U.S. $20.3 million, and worldwide it made $36.6 million. So it wasn't a huge hit, unfortunately. It made some bucks, but it wasn't Scream by any stretch. It didn't make as much money as his previous movie, Urban Legend, either, which was a shame. I think the movie deserved to get, I don't know what it was. I don't remember much about the advertising around there. I don't, so I don't know if Warner Brothers dropped the ball on the advertising or what it was, or maybe this was right at the tail end of the resurgence of the slasher film from Scream, so I don't know what it was. Maybe people just weren't interested. I don't know. Who knows why some movies don't work and some movies do, but this movie didn't do the best. It did okay, but it didn't do great. Anyway, this movie was, well, let's get into the cast. David Boreanaz is in this movie as Adam. Denise Richards, who was popular at the time because she was coming off of Starship Troopers and Wild Things with Neve Campbell. That was a big deal when it came out. I remember seeing that movie in the theater as well. And then she was in some other things, but she was a big deal back then and around this time. You also have Mary Shelton in there as Kate. You got Jessica Capshaw, the daughter of Kate Capshaw, who was in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And she's also married to Steven Spielberg. Jessica Caulfield is Lily. And you had Katherine Heigl in there. She's only in the movie for like the first 10 minutes. I believe Katherine Heigl was on Roswell at the time. I never watched that show, but I remember her being on that show, and I think this was right around that ballpark. I probably should have looked that up before I just said it, but oh well, I'm thinking I'm right on that, but I don't think she was on Grey's Anatomy yet, but I could be wrong. Anyway, this movie opens up with, I don't know if it's elementary school, like 6th grade or junior high dance, Valentine's Day dance, and we're introduced to this kid, Jeremy Milton, who is a scrawny, big glasses, kind of dorky kid, okay? And he goes around asking these different girls, which are the same characters that are in the movie, later on, for a dance. And Kate is the nicest one. She says, not right now, Jeremy, maybe later. But the rest of them kind of make fun of him and ridicule him, except for Jessica Capshaw's character. When she was younger, she was a little overweight. So she's sitting alone on the bleachers all by herself when he approaches her. And she's like, yeah, sure. And they end up underneath the bleachers and they're making out. And some of the boys there see them. They find them under the bleachers making out, and they start making fun of them. And Jessica Capshaw's character kind of shoves Jeremy away and says, no, he attacked me. And they start ridiculing Jeremy, and they dump this punch bowl on him. And they strip him down to his underwear and shove him out in front of the whole dance. And they're laughing at him and pointing. And his nose starts bleeding, and he's standing there almost in tears. Cut to title scene, title credits, and then we're introduced to Katherine Heigl's character, and she's on a blind date with this douchebag, and she kind of cuts it short, and he's douchier than douchey, and she goes back to her medical school because she's practicing for her finals, and she goes to the morgue. I don't know where they keep the bodies in medical school. I'm just going to call it the morgue because that's what it looks like. And she's all alone. It's nighttime. And this is when we're introduced to our killer. And he's basically has a long black coat on and the Valentine's mask on that we see on the poster or on the DVD cover. And it's a really cool, effective mask. I like the mask. I like the way they light it. It's a shame we never got a sequel. It would have been cool to see the mask again. But anyway, after some cat and mouse, she ends up getting killed, and we're getting introduced. It's 13 years later, by the way, and then we're introduced to the rest of the characters from that night where they made fun of Jeremy. So basically, this movie kind of reminds me of Terror Train, where they pull a bad prank on this kid in the beginning of the movie, and he ends up coming back and killing him a couple years later. That's kind of what this movie reminds me of a little bit. Although Urban Legends was, well, that wasn't the same thing, because she came back to take revenge because she blames them for her fiance's death. So it's not exactly the same thing. But if you're talking about just being a kid being bullied and coming back, this kind of reminds me of Terror Train. If you've never seen it, check it out. I did a review on that about a month ago. You can check that out if you just scroll down my videos. And anyway, we're introduced to Kate again as an adult, and she's dating David Boreanaz's character, Adam. Although they're kind of taking a break because Adam has some drinking problems and it scares Kate. So they're still friends and they're talking and they want to get back together, but they're kind of not a thing right now. And they end up getting these creepy Valentines. There's a scene where Lily gets this boxes of chocolate and she goes to bite one and there's maggots inside. It's disgusting, but... And they all get creepy Valentines, and they end up going to this art show. And basically this art show, if I had to describe it, is all these TV screens and screens projecting different images. And there's a maze, and you walk through it, and it's an art show. But I don't know. I'm not an art connoisseur, so I don't know if it's art or not. To me, it looks stupid. But whatever, it's for the movie. It looks pretty cool when the kill scene comes up. And Lily's really into this artist who put this show on. Really sleazy kind of guy. Another douchebag. And during the maze making out, and his assistant starts approaching him, unbuttoning her shirt, and Lily flips out. What the hell is she doing here? This guy's trying to set up a threesome, and Lily's not having it. And she goes, stay the hell away from me. I got to go. I have to catch a flight to L.A. for work. And she goes to leave, and she can't find her way out. She's like in this section of the maze, and nobody's around. And the killer shows up and shoots her with a bow and arrow 3 times. It's a cool scene. Lily gets flown after the last hit with a bow, the bow and arrows. She flies over the railings and she lands. She goes down a couple stories into this dumpster and the lid closes. And from here, the cops are involved because their one friend got killed. Lily's out of town supposedly, but then Kate's neighbor gets killed in her apartment with an iron in a really cool, effective scene. And Jessica's having this party. Jessica Capshaw's character's having this party at her house, this Valentine's Day party, and she let this guy stay with her. And she really likes him. And she still has, even though she's lost weight since junior high, you can tell she has low self-esteem. All the other girls are thinner, and they all have no problem getting guys. You can tell she's attractive, but she just doesn't think highly of herself. And he never shows up. She doesn't know, but he's already been killed by the killer. And the killer kills Paige in a really cool hot tub scene. And then basically, at the end... Well, Kate finds the cop's severed head in the pond out back, because by this point, everybody left the party because the power went out. And only people left are Jessica Capshaw's character, David Boreanaz's character, and Kate. That's it. And Kate comes to the realization that Adam might be the killer. And she kicks him in the nuts and takes off, and he chases her, and they kind of have a fight, and she hits him, and he goes down, and she goes to Jessica Capshaw's dad's study and grabs his gun. And she comes back through where she was and goes up the steps to the first floor. And the killer shows up, knocks her down. She drops the gun and they go down this flight of steps. And the killer pops up and gets shot by Adam. And they take the mask off and it's Jessica Capshaw's character. And we have Adam and Kate. Adam's holding Kate, right? Her head's right here. And all of a sudden, blood starts dripping out of his nose and landing on her cheek. And that's the end of the movie. And that's when we realized Adam was Jeremy Milton all along. And he got away with it. Now, David Boreanaz in this movie is, you think it's too obvious that it's him, the killer. So you never think that, at least when I first saw this, I never thought it was him because it's just too obvious. When they pulled the mask off and showed Jessica Capshaw's character, I thought, oh, okay, it makes sense. She had bad self-esteem. She's kind of jealous of the other girls. Maybe she went nuts and killed everybody. And then the last shot, which I think is a really cool shot, well, it is the obvious choice. Damn, it was the obvious choice. They tricked me. So it's very effective in that way. Because they throw a bunch of red herrings at you. Like some of the guys that were like the Katherine Heigl's blind date, to kind of throw him in there as a little bit of a red herring. And this other guy shows up that likes Paige. But David Boreanaz is the one that's kind of obvious, and you're like, it's too obvious. It can't be him. But that's the way it ends. I really do like this film. It's very well directed. The actors do well with what they have to do. I mean, this is, after all, a slasher film. There's cool songs in this movie. This movie had a good soundtrack. At the art show, you hear Deftones. At the party, you hear Disturbed. You hear Static X. You hear Optagon by Orgy. It had some good songs in it. This movie is based on a novel. I never read it, so I don't know how close to the novel this movie is. Again, I never read it, so I have no idea. Funny enough about this movie, though, it had already got its R rating by the MPAA at the time, and Warner Brothers still made Jamie Blanks go back and take some of the gore scenes out. Just cut back on them a little bit. After hearing that, I'm like, why? If you already secured the R rating, why? You knew what you were making, an old school 80s slasher film. What's the one thing that goes on an old school 80s slasher film? Gore. Blood. Why go back and take it out? You already got your rating. I don't know why they did that. And I know years ago there was rumors that they might release an unrated cut. We've heard this time and time again. Cherry Falls is another cool slasher film that got cut down big time. And I always heard rumors that they were going to release an uncut version of that. That still has not materialized. So I don't get my hopes up for it. We'll ever see that, because Scream Factory did a great job in the Blu-ray. If they could have got those scenes, they would have put them back in, and they weren't there. Hopefully, maybe one day we'll get them. I don't hold out hope for that, though. I highly doubt it. But if you're a horror fan and you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend it. I would give it an 8 out of 10. Is it perfect? No. But there's enough to enjoy there, and it's really well shot, that it's a movie that I really like revisiting every year around this time of year. Obviously, Valentine's Day coming up. The other ones that come to mind are My Bloody Valentine, the original from 1981, and then My Bloody Valentine 3D. I don't know of any other ones. There might be. If you know of any, leave a comment down below. Let me know. Have you seen Valentine from 2001? What are your thoughts on it? I feel like this one's one of the forgotten ones of that era when slasher films came back into vogue. It's not one that gets talked about a whole lot. But I think it's very effective, and I think it's a cool little film. If you've seen it, leave a comment down below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Join me here. And I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.